These are today's assorted scripture readings. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. The word of the Lord.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you. Thank you for waking us up and bringing us together this morning. Thank you for everyone here from Adams Gate to Campbell Hall. Thank you for the experiences we've shared and the memories we will cherish forever. As we, all 201 members of the senior class, leave these halls behind, we pray you guide us in your light and glory. Please allow us to look forward to our futures, but remind us to look back. Look back on the roads that got us to where we are today. Look back on 1424 West Paces Ferry Road. Dear Lord, we pray for safety and success in our futures as graduates. Thank you for our individual paths that led to this unified finish. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Good morning, everyone. Before I start off, I wanted to tell you all that I wanted to play Lightning Strikes the Heart in the background while I spoke, so that as you all got bored and faded in and out of my speech, all you would be able to hear is that wonderful song. However, that idea didn't make it through the administration. So anyways, fellow graduates of the class of 2015, parents, esteemed faculty and administration, and of course, Mr. Vukovic. My name is Arvind Murray, and as president of our senior class, I would like to welcome you all to this year's graduation. I stand here today to reflect upon the past few years of our lives, predict our outstanding, bright futures, and hopefully reduce you all to tears. Having high school come to a close is still a bit surreal. Today marks the end for what has been for most of us 4, 7, and for some, even 13 years of education at Westminster. It's difficult to describe just what Westminster means to me, apart from a place to go to worship Mr. Drake every day, and a school that says there is absolutely no excuse for speeding in the parking lot. I mean, it sounds like a challenge. Now, contrary to every other graduation speaker I've heard, I don't remember anything about my first day at Westminster. However, I do remember realizing a few months after the start of my Westminster experience that I never felt the culture shock everyone warned me about before I came into the school. Even as an awkward, introverted, and very nerdy teenager in junior high, I still somehow managed to make plenty of strong friendships that I've maintained to this day, and never once along the way did I feel excluded from our larger community. Reminiscing on my experience at Westminster, I've realized that this is what I will miss most about our class: the perfect, encouraging, and non-judgmental environment that we have created, which has allowed all of us to strive to do our best without being afraid or embarrassed of how people would react if we failed or made mistakes along the way. It was in this environment that Evan Katz sang his heart out at the 8th and 12th grade talent shows, and Robert DeGolian read the intimate story about his first kiss with Ann Mason in front of his entire English class. But at the same time, Our class's unique, laid-back mentality allowed us to easily overlook each other's shortcomings and not hold grudges in situations that should have caused anger or awkwardness. Whether it was looking past Russ Lude running 85 yards in the wrong direction, Cannon gracefully knocking a clock off of a wall, Jack Tucker and the numerous holes he has created over the years, or every single one of us getting in trouble for someone's mishap with the ice bucket. We forgave our peers and quickly looked past their mistakes. Similarly, not even awkward pep rallies by the boatload and multiple botched class pranks fazed us and failed to dampen our camaraderie and class spirit. Now, it may seem like our class just doesn't care about anything, but that is definitely not the case. During the past 4 years, our grades showed everyone we don't mess around when it comes to Westminster tradition or school spirit. Whether it was cheering on our fellow peers at the senior talent show, bringing pots and pans at the advice of Taylor Willis to cheer on our class's athletes, or making sure not a single junior parked in senior lot, we exhibited extreme passion for what we believed in. And it was in these situations, no matter how seemingly trivial they may be, during which we truly bonded as a class. Now, being a high school graduate means that you will be left on your own to conquer the world. It means no more hand-holding, no more living with mom and dad, no more chicken and rice. But in particular, being a Westminster graduate means using your Westminster education to become successful. Yet, recalling the 12th president or the derivative of 5x cubed isn't what will really make you change this world. Some dude named Albert Einstein once said, "Education is what remains after one has forgotten everything they have learned in school." After years at Westminster, we have learned how to learn and have been taught not so much what to think, but how to think. And that is the true measure of our Westminster education. Just as we have done during these last 4 years, I urge you all to dream and to dare, and don't be afraid of failing in your aspirations. Fellow graduates of the class of 2015, you may think that when you walk out of this campus today, your Westminster experience will simply be a myriad of memories and graded assignments. I assure you, however, that such is not the case. I know for a fact that your Westminster experience does not end here. Within weeks of your graduation today, you will all be receiving phone calls from the Westminster Fundraising Committee asking for donations. Westminster truly is a gift that just keeps on giving, or in this case, receiving. In all seriousness, Westminster will always be a part of us. Whether it's the people we may have met back in elementary school, or this year during spring break, every one of us has influenced each other's lives for the better, and the lessons and memories we've experienced here will remain with us forever. Finally, I would like to thank all of you for giving me the honor of speaking on your behalf, and more importantly, being the best group of friends I could have asked for during the past 6 years of my life. We have finished the high school experience, which is no easy feat, but most importantly, we rose up and got through it together. So, congratulations, class of 2015. Thank you.
Thank you, Arvind. There was one moment in that speech when I saw every parent pull out their program and write a note when you said, "No longer living with mom and dad." And then there was a moment when I pulled out my program and wrote a note, and it had to do with giving back to your alma mater. So thank you for your comments, and welcome, very warm welcome to all of the families and friends of the class of 2015. This is an outstanding group of seniors here who are about to become alums, and we are delighted to welcome all of you to be a part of their commencement and part of this very, very special day. We have many, many thanks that we need to offer, but two in particular that I'd like to point out. One is, a little up the hill and to my left are some musicians who got up early this morning to make this a special occasion, and I'd like to give them a special round of applause to our musicians. And another group who is a little less visible to us, but no less important, are the staff folks who made this beautiful setting possible for us, setting up chairs and microphones and technology, and making sure that everything worked just perfectly. The facilities staff here is second to none, and we owe these folks our thanks for this morning as well. Thank you to the staff. Just a couple of program notes. If you are getting ties that bind photographs taken, that's after commencement in front of Campbell. And all of us are going to join together on Love Patio right behind the bleachers here between Scott and Broyles for a reception following commencement. And so please do find your way down there afterward and join us for that. It is a tradition at Westminster, a long-standing tradition, that we honor and recognize our retiring faculty at commencement. And so I'd like to recognize them at this time and have them stand. There will be a reception where we'll honor these wonderful teachers and coaches this Wednesday at 3:30, and I want to invite all of you to join us here in the foyer behind me for that reception for retiring faculty at 3:30 on Wednesday of this week. And so please hold your applause until all are standing. Our retiring faculty and staff this year: Julie Boggs has served the school for 36 years as a teacher. Wade Boggs has served the school for 44 years as a teacher and coach. Anna Bowler has served the school for 42 years as a teacher. Are you all standing as I'm reading? There you go. Landy Gottbold has served the school for 40 years and taught for 41 years. Rusty Hudson has served the school for 19 years and taught and coached for 30 years. Betsy Spruill has served the school for 35 years, and Fred Young has served the school for 41 years. Friends, these are our retiring faculty and staff. Let's give them a round of applause. We also take this occasion to recognize several distinguished alums here at Commencement, people who have gone beyond their Westminster experience and provide inspiration to us all, either in their service to the school or service to the broader world. And so at this time, I'd like to call forward the president of our Alumni Governing Board, Rebecca McClatchy Warren, to offer an introduction to these awards. Rebecca?
Good morning. Each year at commencement, Westminster recognizes an alumnus and an alumna who have given exceptional services to the school. Each award recipient will receive a captain's chair for his or her accomplishments and service. Here to present the Alumni Service Award to the recipient from the girls' school is Charlie McCollum, a member of the class of 2018. Presenting the Alumni Service Award to the recipient from the boys' school is Eddie DuPriest, a beloved retired faculty member.
Good morning to the class of 2015. Today I have the privilege of presenting the Alumni Service Award to my mom, Nancy Lanier McCollum. Nancy is a proud member of the class in 1988 and parent of 3 Westminster students, including me. Nancy has been very involved in various aspects of the school and served numerous roles over those years. She has volunteered as a class agent, played multiple class reunions, serves as an active member of PAWS and lower school PAWS, and served on the Trustee and Education and Student Life Committee. Nancy was an active member of the Alumni Board from 2006 until 2012 and served as Vice President as well as President. She was the Alumni Board President during the final years of the Teaching for Tomorrow campaign, and under her leadership, the Alumni Relations Program continued to grow in terms of sophistication of events and programs offered to alumni. Mom, I know you presented a fair number of these awards, so it's an honor to present to you this award for your loyal commitment to Westminster.
Before I say a few words about Chuck Easley, I have two hellos to make. One's to the faculty. What are you guys doing sitting there? We're over there. And I was usually behind the tree with Finswaite and the gang, so it's great to see everybody. Another hello to their 18 seniors graduating today that I taught as sophomores. I won't name them all, but they were great. We had a blast, and congratulations to all of you. I'm honored to be here this morning to present the Alumni Service Award to my former student and friend, Chuck Easley. Two of the more memorable moments for both of us in the fall of 1976 were the day that Chuck walked into my 7th grade English classroom, and a month later when Stevie Wonder released what Chuck and I agreed at that time might become the greatest album ever, entitled Songs in the Key of Life. In both 7th and 8th grade English classes, Chuck and I were always discussing music, literature, sports, and whose afro was more attractive, Chuck's or Michael Jackson's. And Chuck's was actually better. He rarely mentioned a favorite book because he loved them all. In the 8th grade, he was particularly fond of a phrase he found in a story called The Pearl by John Steinbeck. The phrase was the song of the family. Chuck has always had two families. The first, of course, including his amazing father, Charles Easley, a nationally renowned educator, and his talented sister, Tammy, herself a 1989 graduate of Westminster, and his second family, the Westminster schools. The song of his first family assumed a harsh tone in the fall of 1981 when Chuck's mother, Helen, passed away during his senior year. He was in my Shakespeare course at the time, and we were reading King Lear. When he returned to class several days after his mother's funeral, he told me he'd been at home reading Lear carefully and found the perfect phrase for his new relationship with his mother. Quoting Lear's words to Cordelia, quote, "So we'll live and pray and sing and tell old tales and laugh at gilded butterflies." Indeed, 18-year-olds were not supposed to be that mature. Former Westminster Athletic Director Bob Ward told me recently that while it might be impossible to make such a claim about any particular Westminster athlete, he felt Chuck Easley was quite possibly the greatest athlete in the history of the school. Bob thought I might get a second opinion on that from Coach Drake. The first time I saw Chuck carrying a football was at Lemon Street Stadium in Marietta, Georgia. I arrived at the game a few minutes late, looked up at the field, and there he was, high-stepping down the sideline and running away from all those little 7th grade Marietta players. One of the last memories I have of Chuck carrying a football was at Grant Field in 1984. When playing for his beloved head coach Bill Curry, he smashed into the Clemson line and scored a game-winning touchdown for Georgia Tech. In addition to his football exploits, he was a track star for legendary Westminster coach Paul Koshawa and a talented basketball player for Coach Ward. He was special. He told me the day before 8th grade basketball tryouts that I was coaching that he was really nervous and he just hoped he would make the team. I told him I really liked his chances, particularly since he was the only 8th grader I'd ever seen who could dunk a basketball. Chuck was the consummate student athlete. He knew how to enjoy hard work and did so both on the playing fields and in the classroom. During his senior year, before reciting his 25 lines in the Lauderdale Room from Shakespeare's Henry IV, Part 1, he asked me if he could step outside for just a second. When he returned, he was wearing his mother's choir robe, and he immediately became the passionate Hotspur preparing for battle at Shrewsbury. You should have been there. His classmates and I were stunned and very entertained. Of course, over the years, Chuck has served Westminster in various capacities, including Alumni Governing Board, the Annual Fund, Trustee Committees, Education, Student Life, Westminster's 50th anniversary, investment, Christian life, and on and on and on and on. simply stated he loves this place. Next week, 4 of my former colleagues in the upper school will retire: Anna Bowler, Wade Boggs, Landy Godbowl, and Rusty Hudson. Anna, Wade, and Landy each taught Chuck, and Rusty has worked with him most recently on the Athletic Director Search Committee. When Chuck learned that this foursome was retiring, he said to me, "Whoa, what a great group of people, so talented. The school will really miss them." Chuck's support of Westminster is loud and clear. Many of you have enjoyed his expert analysis of Westminster football on WCAT. Chuck and Bill McGann form quite a team. Trust me, I know, I taught both of them. In closing, let me just say that Chuck Easley is a throwback and a wonderful ambassador for the Westminster schools. He'll talk to you for hours about what he learned from his 9th grade football coach, Charlie Brake, his middle school principal, Jack Shields, his upper school principal, Charlie Breithaupt, even his swimming guru, Pete Higgins. He is a classmate and dear friend of admissions director Marjorie Mitchell. Chuck and forever and anon best friend Harold Dawson were inseparable, and Chuck's stories about his fellow football co-captain Chuck Breithaupt are the best. Chuck Easley is that student who brought joy to his Westminster teachers and coaches. He's that guy Robert Penn Warren calls the friend of your youth. Students like Chuck are the reason why so many of us spend so many wonderful years here. You can ask Finswaite and Drake about that sort of thing. When I think about him in my classroom in 1976, going crazy during our discussions of The Lord of the Rings, I am reminded of the lyrics of Stevie Wonder's wonderful song, "I Wish," which doubles as a reflection of my former years with Chuck, and maybe a less than subtle reminder to the class of 2015. Stevie sang, I won't sing it, I could, but I won't. Stevie sang, "I wish those days could come back once more. Why did those days ever have to go? 'Cause I love them so." For his selfless dedication to Westminster, I am so pleased to present this Alumni Service Award to Chuck Easley.
Each year at commencement, Westminster also recognizes and honors outstanding personal, business, or professional achievement by one alumnus and one alumna. Here to present the Distinguished Alumni Award to the recipient from the girls' school is Bitsy Wesley Boozer, a member of the class of 1955 and current Westminster grandparent. Presenting the Distinguished Alumni Award to the recipient of the boys' school is Ellen Hale Jones, a member of the class of 1981 and a current Westminster parent.
Good morning. Helen Graham, Westminster graduate of 1957, is dedicated to helping others find their way in life. A champion for women's and children's needs, full of curiosity and constantly learning about new things while sharing important wisdom from the past. She is compassionate, generously listens, and trusts God's teaching that all things are one. Those who know Helen's depth enjoy her spirited sense of humor. I have experienced it many times. On her 0 and 5-year birthdays, she writes what I have learned in life so far. 2 of them, the way to time travel is to have friends of all ages. Engage in two-way conversations about experiences. Each of us is a library of experience and knowledge. We must pass on our learnings so they do not die with us. In 1960s, she was trained as the Department of Medical Clinical Photographer at Johns Hopkins Hospital, where one of the country's first medical teaching show library was used for training medical, nursing, students, and the hospital staff. She then became a freelance photographer, producing multimedia shows in Atlanta schools, civic groups, and churches. In 1957, she was invited to the White House and showed her multimedia environmental presentation to one of the president's staff. I went with her on that remarkable trip, where we had lunch in the White House dining room and met the vice president. When Helen was 34 and mother of 2 small children, Sean and Bill, her close friend and 1957 classmate, Donna Kickline Rogers, asked Helen to become legal guardian to her 4 children, Chef, Heather, Heidi, and Holly. Donna was in great health, and Helen agreed. 6 months later, Donna was diagnosed with cancer and died 14 months after her husband had died. All 6 of the children were within 3.5 years. So 3 were 8, 2 were 9, and 1 was 10.5. And yet, 11 years later, a 7th child, 6-year-old Mary, joined the fold when Helen married Reverend Jack Graham. Now Helen and Jack's family, just them, are 28 people. All 7 are grown college graduates, great parents, enjoying their careers and giving back to their communities. When the 6 older kids went to college, Helen went back to college. She graduated summa cum laude from Georgia State University, was inducted into ODK, Mortarboard, and Golden Key. She then completed her master's in social work at age 50. On the staff of Peachtree Parkwood and Ridgeview Hospital, she developed the family programs which educated and served entire families. In 1992, Helen opened her private practice, and many therapists have been coming in to learn from her. 37 years ago, before cell phones and the internet, Helen was a team member of 12 United States media persons who taught the power of television awareness training in schools, churches, and civic groups around the country. In fact, she led a half-day class here at Westminster and at Trinity School in the late 70s. She served as an ordained elder at Trinity Presbyterian Church, was senior high youth advisor, director of Montreat Singles Conference, and in 1999, a delegate to the International Women's Gathering at the Bosey Institute in Geneva, Switzerland, to explore the role of women in churches and spirituality in the 21st century. She now serves on the governing board of the Society of Integration of Spirituality and Psychotherapy. Helen lives her life in all aspects, and the most important quality of her living is her spirituality. She continues to learn from Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, and Zen. She has allowed her spiritual journey to evolve into the deeper exploration of the mystic, where she practices meditation, yoga, and the way of the higher self. And listen to this. Part of her spirituality practice is tap dancing to joyful music. I am so delighted and proud that my dear sister friend, Helen Graham, is being honored today as one of Westminster's 2015 Distinguished Alumni.
Sheffield might have a stroke because he has no idea what I'm going to say. My brother Sheffield is something of a Cinderella story. As a member of the class of 1978, his transformation began here at Westminster. In elementary school, he spent his spare time in reading lab with Mrs. Marine, struggling to read through his horn-rimmed glasses and Coke bottle lenses. A self-described underachiever early on, Sheffield got hooked on history in 6th grade when Dot McFarlane made him read the newspaper every night for homework. 9th grade was a pivotal year. Sheffield made an F in Spanish his first semester, then a B second term after Mom and Dad threatened to send him to boarding school. Also in 9th grade, Sheffield received the Most Improved in PE award, I think because he could finally do a pull-up, or maybe half a pull-up. Those successes spurred him on, and by his junior year, Sheffield was cruising around in his yellow Cutlass Supreme with the corduroy seats, listening to obscure bands like King Crimson and Triumvirate, and accelerating his academic efforts. Teachers like Dave Drake, Durward Fincher, Jack Shields, and Jack Pennever inspired him. He became an editor of the Byline, relishing the subversive articles he wrote that were rejected by his faculty advisor. He played JV soccer, impressing his friends with his fancy footwork. By graduation, Sheffield was making A's. He was fluent in Spanish. He scored a 5 on the AP History exam without taking AP History. He enrolled in the honors program at the University of Georgia, and there he joined the SAE fraternity with some of his Westminster friends and graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa with a BA in history. He then went on to earn his JD from the University of Virginia Law School, where he served as president of the Student Legal Forum. Now comes his long list of professional accomplishments. Sheffield practiced corporate law as a partner at Kilpatrick & Cody, now Kilpatrick & Townsend. After 16 years with the firm, he joined the American Cancer Society, which is headquartered in Atlanta, as chief counsel. After 10 years at the American Cancer Society, where he was instrumental in restructuring the 100-year-old organization's corporate structure and governance, Sheffield became president and CEO of the Atlanta History Center, an organization he had been involved with for more than 25 years as a volunteer, board member, and board chair. Since becoming president and CEO in 2012, Sheffield's passion for history helped transform the History Center into an increasingly relevant and engaging organization. He completed a capital campaign that advanced multiple improvements to the 33-acre Buckhead campus and increased resources to serve more than 55,000 school children annually. He shaped an award-winning program to involve and excite young professionals with the history of our community. You may have heard of Party with the Past. And he completely revitalized the author program series at both the History Center and the Margaret Mitchell House. Most recently, Sheffield negotiated the move of the Atlanta Cyclorama to the History Center, an accomplishment that will improve the ability of the History Center to further its mission, raise the organization's national profile, and benefit the city as a whole in the process. Sheffield also serves on the board of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, the Robert W. Woodruff Library of the Atlanta University Center, Fox Theater, Inc., University of Georgia Press, the Buckhead Coalition, and the Georgia Humanities Council. Previous community involvement includes serving as a board chair for the State of Georgia's Judicial Nominating Commission, the Georgia Trust for Historic Preservation, and St. Jude's Recovery Center. Sheffield married Elizabeth Medlin from North Carolina in 1988, and they have 3 sons. The eldest, Sheffield, known as Condor on the lacrosse team, graduated from Westminster in 2008. I recently heard Headmaster Keith Evans talk about Westminster students, how they somehow know they are to leave and change the world. Sheffield epitomizes that quality. The foundation of education and values that Westminster gave him, as well as his tight group of Westminster friends who are still his closest, combined to launch this brilliant guy. Finally today, as a little sister, Sheffield told to walk 10 feet behind him, zip my lip, and pretend like I didn't know him. I can claim my kinship on Westminster soil. Finally today, Sheffield is graduating from Westminster as a star student. I can't think of a more humble, worthy, or harder working guy. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of our award-winning alums. It's quite an incredible group and wonderful role models for the class of 2015 and for all of us. It's fair to say that our commencement speaker is on a return engagement to this stage. As a senior, Brooke Baldwin was the president of her class in 1997, and she spoke from this podium at graduation just as our senior class presidents are doing today. Between then and now, Brooke has covered a lot of ground. She graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and launched a career in broadcast journalism, eventually joining CNN in 2008 and covering some of the most important news stories of the past few years, from the shootings in Newtown, Connecticut, to the Golden Globe Awards, to the president's second inauguration. Along the way, she's accepted several of journalism's highest honors and increasingly finds herself on CNN's most important assignments. When she's not in the field, you can see Brooke on the 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock edition of CNN Newsroom. More than any of these achievements, however, it was when Brooke was recently parodied on Saturday Night Live that her phone blew up with texts from well-wishers, and we all knew that she had finally made it. I am sure it will not be long before she is called in to host. What you'll soon discover is that Brooke is a warm and generous person who has clearly stayed grounded even while experiencing such success early in her career. We've been fortunate to have her on campus this spring sharing her experience with our WCAT crew, and I'm very excited now to call her for a second time to this podium. Please join me in welcoming Brooke Baldwin, class of 1997.
Hi, everyone. Tall girls, stand by. Good morning. I have to say I'm having an odd flashback, too, and I'm going to knock on wood because the last time I was at a graduation gathering here was from my little brother, and Scoot Diamond was reminding me it was 2001, and it was the infamous lightning strike year. So picture everyone out here, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, and we all ran inside of McCain. So it's kind of nice so far. Fingers crossed. Good morning. Keith, thank you so much, and thank you so much, class of 2015. How are you? Good. And thank you to the faculty. I know I'm used to having you guys over here, but you're over here. I'm getting my bearings. Thank you to the faculty and the staff and the parents and the grandparents and the family and the friends. Thank you to my mom, who's over there, who held on to my college commencement robe since 2001. So let me do a spin for you. Go heels. Thank you to my dad for being here and my little baby brother, class of Westminster 2001. This is a phenomenal, phenomenal honor. And as Keith mentioned, it's an honor, A, to be asked to speak here, but B, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the exact same podium from which I spoke as girls senior class president in 1997. And so it's a wild full circle moment. You guys may be getting some phone calls in a couple years, just saying. And also I started thinking, so I was 18 sitting here. That was 18 years ago. You're 18. So right around the time I was at this podium, your parents were busy. And I'm just saying, it's not what you want to think about right now, I know, but I'm pretty sure we all took biology in that building right up there. So just do me a favor and thank your parents later today for having you. So, you're welcome. I was recently looking at my senior class links, my photo, and you know how you pick the senior quotes? And so I found mine, which was T.S. Eliot. And it was this: "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." So like all of you sitting here today, ready to have a good time later on this evening, bright-eyed, full of potential, just so blessed to be here. I knew that I would be leaving, and I knew that I would be leaving and come back with wiser eyes and all these life experiences, some incredible experiences and some incredibly lesson-worthy experiences, which we'll get to in just a minute with 3 short. AJC totally got it wrong. Love AJC, but they called it wrong, so congratulations to you for making it to the semifinals. Girls soccer, hello. Congratulations. And also lacrosse, go get them today. Go get them today, all right? Yes. I also hear you're special in the way that your men's a cappella group brought McCain Auditorium to its feet with your famous mashup of The Lion King. I wish I was here. I heard that was awesome. And sorry to single you out, I haven't met you, Lenore Kelly, but I hear you're just special because you don't let those pesky parking lines get in the way at the senior class lot. I've seen photos. I know it happened. So you're special. You get that. So cherish this moment, cherish this day, and the friends that you've made here, because they will be with you in the good times and the not so good times. Take it from me. So here are my 3 stories. My first story is just beginning in this moment, in this spot 18 years ago. So I was standing in front of my class. I was the senior class president, and I was the captain of the cheerleading squad. I lettered all 4 years in track, National Honor Society, full deck of AP classes, peer leader, okay? But here's my little secret. I stood in front of my class, and I had no idea where I was going to college. No clue. And it wasn't because I was having to choose or I was going to take a year off and go, travel the world. It was because, Nancy Bean, I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. I put all of my eggs in one basket. And I applied to my dream school early, and I got waitlisted. So there I was, month of May, waitlisted, speaking in front of my class. June, still waitlisted. July, still waitlisted. This is like when you should be packing, going to the Container Store, buying your stuff. And I was still hanging out. I mean, I went to Westminster, I worked hard, I was involved, I was smart, I was a good kid. Like, it's supposed to work out the way you want it to, right? Maybe not. Nancy Bean and my mother had to have, as we say here in the South, a little bit of a come to Jesus with me mid-July. And they said, Brooke, you will have a lot of dreams in life, but my dear, this is not one of the dreams that will materialize. Let it go. Let it go, and if you really want to, eventually you can transfer schools. Okay. So I ended up going initially to a wonderful place in Williamsburg, Virginia, the College of William and Mary, and I loved it. I loved it. I had actually never stepped foot in Williamsburg until a few weeks ahead of classes. And I threw myself into campus life. I joined a sorority. I was on the undergraduate honor council. I even became a tour guide. So I was that girl walking backwards trying to tell everyone else why they should come to William & Mary. And everything changed for me when I had a friend who was in my class at Westminster, and we were finishing up Christmas break here in Atlanta, and she said, hey, do you mind giving me a ride back to my school on the way up I-85? I go to this school in North Carolina. I said, okay, I can go to Chapel Hill, no problem. I've never been there, but I'll give you a ride. So I get to Chapel Hill, and as a tour guide, I kind of wanted to scope out, the campus. And so I took a tour, just for fun. And I ended up sneaking into the newly renovated journalism school when I was there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, changed the course of my college career. And I was just speaking a year ago at the UNC Commencement as the journalism school speaker, and I was telling this story, but the long and the short of it is, I just knew in my bones that that was the direction I wanted to go, and I loved William & Mary, and I applied to transfer. I got in a week later, and I tearfully had to tell my friends in Williamsburg, I love you all, but I have this funny feeling that I'm supposed to be in journalism. And I pursued it, and I stuck with it, and it kind of worked out for me. And had I gone to that original school with my original plan, who knows where I would be now? I would probably not be in this Carolina blue robe, and I would probably not be on CNN. So my point to you is that, newsflash, even if you are a Westminster graduate, you will be facing curveballs in life. Things will not always go the way you want them to. Embrace the curveballs, okay? And to you parents, we Westminster types, ask my mother. I like to call it aggressive. She likes to call it stubborn, and that doesn't change. So as you have supported us through this phenomenal education, please continue to do so through the tears and the curveballs and the journalism jobs you take after you graduate college when you're making less than what you plunked down for your kids for 1 year to go here. We promise we will get it right in the end. Story 1. My second story, a couple of months ago, I did something I had actually never done in my entire 15-year career. I asked for 2 weeks off for vacation. I decided it was time for me to stop talking about going to Africa and finally go to Africa. But here's the deal, and you all will relate. I went to Westminster, so I can't just go to Africa. I need to go climb a mountain in Africa. And not just any mountain, I needed to go climb the tallest mountain in all of Africa, the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. I needed to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, all 19,341 feet. That's what I needed to do. Could I pull it off? I'm a journalist. I did my homework. I went to REI. I bought items. I had to go home and Google. And finally, and most importantly, I found a really great girlfriend. You never know who you're sitting next to, because one of my girlfriends graduated from Westminster, Allison Riebenhoff-Radicek. She had just enough crazy in her, just enough adventure, and I think she figured she could put up with me in a tent, shower-free for 6 days. Thank you, Allison. Just so you know, about 35,000 people try to summit Kilimanjaro every year. About half of them make it, and a couple die. Sorry, Mom, I forgot to mention that detail before I left. So it was me, Allison, 4 other American climbers, a couple of guides, and 41 porters. 41 Tanzanian porters helping us get up this mountain. And Allison and I fared pretty well because we went to Westminster, so we knew how to listen. So when our guide said, go this way, wear this, breathe this way, don't eat this, we did. And we did pretty well until the last night, summit night. This is when you start climbing a mountain for 8 hours at 11 o'clock at night. We'd been on the mountain for 5 or so days. 1 hour into our summit climb that's just lit by the moon and our headlamps, I hit a wall. Dehydration. All of a sudden, I was dizzy. I was seeing stars. You really do see stars. And my speech was slurring. Here I was, I'd come all this way, and I was already having this flash that I wasn't going to make it, and everyone else would continue on without me, and they'd tell me how amazing it was at the peak. But we don't quit, do we? No, no. My guide quickly jumped into action, drank a lot of water, took a minute, and my girlfriend, my fellow Wildcat, Allison, she gave me incredible encouragement. And so, after a couple of minutes of getting myself together, we continued on. And once I started seeing up that uphill freezing battle, the sun rising over Tanzania, I knew I would make it, and I did. And so some 6 days later, we lasted all of 6 minutes in that altitude to get to the top of Africa, and it was phenomenal. But when I think about Kilimanjaro, looking back, and when I close my eyes, I don't think about walking through the snows up there, seeing the glaciers, or seeing the Uhuru Peak sign. I think of the Swahili singing. I think of what the stars look like at 19,000 feet, and I think of my friend Allison, my fellow partner in crime, my Westminster graduate, dear, dear friend. So the fire in your belly that you're learning here, the fire in your belly, the mental toughness, the perseverance that, yes, our parents instill in us from a very early age, but you're also learning that here from this faculty and in all these buildings and on those fields and in that theater. And you never know who you're sitting with right now, who will go with you as you climb whatever mountains you will face in life. My last story is something that actually just happened a couple of weeks ago. I've been at CNN just about 8 years. I pinch myself every single day that I have this job. It's like a dream job. I hold down 2 hours of live TV every day, and I have definitely been known to beat that other network that starts with an F and rhymes with sucks. I have been on a roll. As Keith mentioned, I was parodied in Saturday Night Live, which was just crazy. And in fact, a couple of weeks ago, the President of the United States dropped my name when he was speaking at the White House Correspondents' Dinner referencing that sketch. I was asked to come stand in front of you today, which is kind of cool. And even Sanjay Gupta, somewhere in the audience, our chief medical correspondent and a friend and a Westminster dad, Sanjay's here to hear me speak. Like, what? Thanks, Sanjay. So I'm on a roll, okay? And then recently, 3 weeks ago, wham. I had the kind of day you would not want to wish on anyone. It happens in some form or fashion. It happens to all of us. In fact, I have had so many of my colleagues at CNN reach out to me and share their stories of their mistakes that they've made. But bottom line, I screwed up, and I needed to apologize for it, and I did. But before that happened, I was a wreck. I was a wreck a couple of weeks ago. I knew I'd get back up, but in those darkest hours of sitting by myself in my Baltimore hotel room, because I was covering the riots and the demonstrations for the week, there was a knock on my door, on my hotel room door. And do you know who it was? Do you know who heard what happened and jumped into his car from Norfolk, Virginia, and drove 2 hours one way at 9 o'clock at night to come see me, to support me, to listen to me? My Westminster colleague from 1997, Rashad Jones. This is a man who I've known since the 7th grade in that building right over there, who went on to graduate with me here in 97 and played football at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, who is now a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy. He's a wonderful husband. He is a father of 2. In fact, his oldest daughter, Amy Marie, will be starting here in the fall. I will never forget the moment that he knocked on my door and he walked into my room and he just held his arms out for me and I fell into his embrace, and it was the best hug of my life. And in that moment, I just let it all go. And by the end of the evening, do you know what we were talking about? We were talking about and reminiscing about and laughing about this place. That night, what brought us together was Westminster. And from that moment on, I knew everything was eventually going to be okay. And I also knew that Rashad Jones, wherever you are, you're stuck with me for the rest of your life, buddy. My point is, you are going to make mistakes. It is the friends you are graduating with today who will knock on your door, who will call you up, who will come through for you in those darkest moments. The people right here are people you will know for a lifetime. As I close here today, I just want to look forward together, and like T.S. Eliot said, to that notion of ceaseless exploration. What's next for you? Maybe not exactly what you think. Maybe some unexpected fork in the road like the one that literally landed me in this Carolina blue robe. I can't begin to guess, but I can say this for sure. You definitely have some mountains to climb. You have moments that somehow you will have to overcome to reach the summit. You have people to meet and places to go and mistakes to make and lots of learning to do. I don't know exactly where you're going, and quite honestly, I don't know exactly where I'm going next either. But I can tell you for certain, when you come back here and you stand where I am standing and you look into the eyes of very excited Westminster graduates, you will know this place for the first time, and you will know yourself in a way you never thought possible. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you at the top of your mountains. Congratulations, class of 2015. Go get 'em. Go get 'em.
You might imagine that it's not easy to get on Brooke's schedule, but when I called her and asked her to do this, she agreed immediately and pretty much agreed to make everything else work around this. And I just am so grateful that you're with us today, Brooke. Thank you so much. We have the president of the senior class, Mackenzie Shannon, is going to offer us an appreciation. Mackenzie?
Hi everyone, thank you, Ms. Baldwin. It's an honor to hear you speak. We have spent most of this year looking to the future, but at the beginning of April we began to notice that the days were passing by a little too quickly. However, frantically we reached to savor each moment, and the days and weeks slipped one by one away, until finally, inevitably, we find ourselves here. Our future has become our present, our goal, our reality, and as odd as it sounds, I'll wait a second. And as odd as it sounds, we can't help but wish today for just a little more yesterday. But however uncertain our new future may be, time most certainly isn't going to turn backwards for us. Maybe, though, we can ask time to pause a moment while we think a little about who we are and about what our time here at Westminster has made of the people we were when we arrived. Though our matching caps and gowns suggest otherwise, we know ourselves to be individually unique. Our individuality manifests itself in as many ways as there are classmates. But what interests me and what lies at the heart of our class identity is the way that strong individualism has produced a class that is still somehow also a unified, self-sustaining unit. The following excerpt from Rudyard Kipling's The Law of the Jungle captures this duality very well. As the creeper that girdles the tree trunk, the law runneth forward and back, for the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. I want to emphasize that in quoting Rudyard Kipling's poem, I'm not trying to liken our class to a bunch of ravenous wolves. The quality of the pack that Kipling is explaining is a positive quality. It's the idea that loyalty and respect among strong individuals makes each member stronger than he could ever be alone. It's that kind of mutually supportive strength that distinguishes the pack from a flock of sheep or a herd of cows. And that's why I think the pack is a good metaphor for our class. We are compatible without being identical, and our collective identity is much greater than simply the sum of our achievements. Though I'm not suggesting our achievements aren't noteworthy. In fact, some of them are truly astonishing. To cite a few highlights, in sophomore year, our grade participated in 13 state championships and won 11. Our robotics team participated in an international championship in 2013, and this year, 2 of our classmates won the debate tournament of champions. To have been a member of the class of 2015 has been to live with constant change, some of it substantial. We have experienced seemingly endless new construction, the exit and entrance of a headmaster and a principal, a new schedule, new classrooms, new rules. Change has, in many ways, been the defining constant of our experience, and our unity in the face of that change has been the defining constant of our class. We survived and thrived as one. Each of us probably has a few specific memories that capture the essence of our Westminster experience. These might include our football team making it to the semifinals for the first time since 2004, with all of us screaming encouragement from the stands, Sharing the excitement with Mrs. Major when her new daughter Mariana arrived, the wonderfully overblown hype of 2 PRUMC championships, the inseparable bond of the sisterhood of the girls' cross-country team, or our return to the joys of mud and a garden hose on the senior day mudslide. Whatever they are, whether I've mentioned them or not, they will forever belong to the class of 2015, and they will always be in our hearts. And finally, a few thank yous on behalf of our class. First, we recognize that the sense of togetherness that I've described was not the product of chance. Our class was assembled by some very smart people who put a lot of thought into that process. We would like to thank our admissions department and each faculty and staff member that played a part in bringing the members of our class together. We couldn't have asked for anything better. Second, we recognize that the way our class identity developed over the years wasn't the product of chance either. We would like to thank all of our teachers and school administrators whose guidance showed us how to work together and to combine our strengths, something that has allowed us to be both competitive and cooperative. And perhaps most importantly, we would like to thank our parents and families, our guideposts for everything, for molding us into the people we are, for teaching us how to be a part of a family. We hope that we have applied the principles that you have instilled in us well. Without a lifetime of your guidance and your unwavering support, the family of classmates that we have become would not have been possible. Finally, I would like to thank you, my classmates, for changing and affecting me indelibly and forever. You have made me a smarter, tougher, and kinder person. Each of us has made a mark on each other and on this place. I'm so proud and grateful to have been a part of the class of 2015. As we graduate today, we leave knowing that the things that we have gained here are irreplaceable. The memories, the friendships, the sense of place and family. We leave knowing that we are prepared for the future and that it's coming, whether we are ready or not. We leave knowing that the pack will always be here to welcome us home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mackenzie. There's one other thing that doesn't happen by chance. A senior class doesn't have the year that this class had without great leadership from both you and Arvin. So thank you very much for all that you've done for the class. All right, class of 2015. Chief Keith's about to call you forward. I was put up to that. Mr. Egan, upon the authorization of the faculty and the endorsement of the Board of Trustees of the Westminster Schools, I present to you the members of the class of 2015 for the presentation of diplomas and Bibles. Parents and families and friends, we ask that you please hold your applause, and after the entire class has crossed the platform, we will pause briefly to hear the ring of the chapel bell, and then we will salute all of them together. Thank you. Carolina Lee Adams. Hannah Elizabeth Adkins. Anya Rustagi Agrawala. Rachel Josetta Alexander. Iris Esmeralda Bailon. Jacqueline Eugenia Baltz. Margaret Grace Borders. Danielle Marie Brothers. Virginia Stewart Brown. Margaret Allen Bush. Anne Roderick Caltho. Andy Renee Carandi. Sarah Mann Caswell. Lyric Cassidy Christian. Katie Rose Christie. Emily Anmin Chu. Deja Antonice Clay. Mary Wellborn Coffin. Margaret Grace Collier. Kennedy Liel Copeland. Mary Connolly Cravens. Mary Boyd Crozier. Caroline Grace Darty. Jennifer Tran Doan. Molly Priestley Egan. Elizabeth Reynolds Ferguson. Susan Lindsay Fields. Alexandra Victoria Foote. Hannah Lindsay Gay. Reese Greer. Isabel Grace Gupton. Caroline Marie Harris. Caroline Tucker Heller. Abigail Sexton Henniger. Mary Catherine Henry. Margaret Lanier Hoffman. Alston Elizabeth Howell. Susanna Lily Irvin. Elizabeth Bowden Isler. Ann Mason Jackson. Maya Angelique Jones. Avanti Joshi. Lenore Gwynn Kelly. Erin Elizabeth Kennedy. Aaron Alexis Lambert. Jasmine Nicole Lester. Mary Craig Lindgren. Christina Lauren Lopez. Shafali Rani Minocha. Margaret Chandler McCamey. Mary Catherine Meyer. Simran N. Mithwani. Ruen Moodley. Marjorie Lee Moran. Lamar Ellis Oglesby. Kristen Maria O'Neill. Mackenzie Brooke Parks. Elizabeth Marie Pavour. Caroline Hill Puskas. Angela Janie Chow. Diti Rao. Anna Elizabeth Red. Alexandria Ann Rasuda. Sarah Ann Richard. Jessica Lynn Riemann. Celia Mason Rooney. Mia Louise Ruggiano. Laura Catherine Russell. Amanda Patricia Willow Schaefer. Erica Lynn Schumacher. Mackenzie Lee Shannon. Rose Bailey Sheehan. Annabelle Da-Shin Shu. Priya Devi Sinha. Caroline Margaret Slauson. Gabriella Hodges Small. Dorothy Tyler Spratlin. Tara Lotia Subramaniam. Mary Calvin Swayze. Elizabeth Parker Tatum. Elizabeth Penn Thompson. Madeline May Yusi. Veronica Guadalupe Valencia. Holland Sloan Whitaker. Catherine Pittman Wilkinson. Anne Marie Willis. Somer Gray Woodall. Nancy Gray Woodham. Margaret Grace Woodruff. Afton Handay Yildirim. Maya Christina Young. Sarah Jane Zellick. Clayton Edward Ashley. Arvind at Murray. Keller Thomas Austin. Alexander Stone Balzer. Ayodeji Ayokunle Bandeli. Lyle Fulton Beavers. Quentin Jawan Bennett. Abhinav Bharadwaj. William Calloway Black. Gary Brian Blasingame III. Ishan Bowl. Hunter Wells Bremer. John Dominic Britty. Charles Michael Colley IV. Nathan Cannon Cecil. John Patrick Cohen IV. John Weston Collins. Stephen Collins Cotton Jr. Samuel Bruce Crane. Blake Linville Davis. Hunter Roberts Davis. Joseph Kenyon Davis. Robert King DeGolian. Joshua Daniel Dolan. Robert Alden Durfee. Nicholas Yarborough East. John Harrison Fiveash. Saul Jonathan Foreman. Jackson Andrew Galliard. Vincent Daniel Gangemi. Nathaniel Mark Gibson. William Robert Grady. Zachary Hunter Green. Benjamin Matthew Greenberg. Justin Randolph Greenfield. Naman Gupta. Matthew Chesley Haygood. Andrew James Hamilton. Henry Bullard Harris IV. Frederick Raymond Hart. Henry Arthur Hasbrook. Cole Benjamin Haverty. William Warren Hedgepeth. Davis Forrester Hauk. William Walter Hudson. Douglas Graham Huff. Connor Michael Hutchins. Joseph Walker Jones. Evan Alexander Katz. Neil William Kimball. John Connors Knight. Benjamin Clayton Ladner. Arson Casimir Lakba. Levi Joseph Lassiter. Samuel Alexander Lawton. Sanjin Noah Lee. Patrick William Leonard. Matthew Ash Levinson. Dalton Christopher Light. Yo Song Lim. Malin Courts Linder. Henry Thomas Lorenz. Cole Lance Locasio. Bo Allen Martin. R. Remy Matthews. Andrew Kelly McCutcheon. Michael Lawson Meadows. Tyler Harrison Means. Cesar Meza. Paul Hamilton Miller. Brian Yunsu Nam. Noah C. Nix. Charles Talbot Nunley IV. Eric Michael Odermatt. Caleb Ashi Parikh. Samuel Lawrence Pastor. Joseph Perry. Charles Matthew Ramsey. Gavin Brighton Reynolds. Robert William Rodriguez, Jr. William Emerson Rollins. William Trevor Rowland. John Baldwin Sanders. Nicholas Bennett Schmall. Asa Robinson Seeds. Samuel Martin Seitz. Russell Neil Sewell III. Aaron Wellman Shaw. John Wen Shen. Daniel Hal Silcox IV. Robert Alexander Silliman. Austin Christian Spalding. Collins Wade Speed. Michael Jamal Strickland. William Henry Stewart II. Connor Adler Stetz. Charles Frederick Trentz III.
That's my son!
John Stewart Tucker. Russell Tobena Ude. Alexander Cole Vukovic. Marshall Julian Weber. Winston Tribble Weinman. Robert Taylor Willis. Nicholas Warren Wilson. Thomas Cecil Ray III. Jonathan Yu. If you would please join me now in a brief moment of silence for the tolling of the chapel bell. The class of 2015, please stand. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the class of 2015. Score. And now, Caroline Puskas and William Black are going to lead us in the singing of the Alma Mater that's found in your commencement bulletin. Malin Linder's going to offer our closing prayer, and after the prayer, we're going to recess the faculty and then release the class to join your families. Malin?
Please bow your heads in a word of prayer. Dear Lord, in the midst of the celebration of our completion of high school, we are grateful that we have reached this milestone. But as our final moments at Westminster come to a close, we want to pause and acknowledge your presence in our lives. We thank you for the students and faculty that have been a part of our journeys and the impact they have had on us over the past 4 years. We also want to thank you for our parents who have loved and supported us unwaveringly throughout high school. I pray that as we make this transition to college, that we would grow in our relationship with you and that we would thrive in our new environments. Lead us in your plan and give us courage and determination along the way. Most of all, we would like to thank you for your Son Jesus and the love he offers us through his death and resurrection on the cross. And it is in his name we pray. Amen.